play. Good food and open spaces, we living like kings. Friendly faces, affordable land, and success in our hands. Welcome to the SIP, where the South says.
On April the 24th, 1960, the worst race riot in Mississippi's history occurred right here, where I'm standing. Hi, welcome to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. I'm in the coastal town of Biloxi. Biloxi, Mississippi has a long-standing history as a tourist attraction. Every year in April, black college students, as well as young adults, they flock to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. What many of them probably don't realize is that this beach was once segregated. Blacks were not allowed. In fact, they were prohibited to go out there on that sand. In April 24th, 1960, a defiant young physician decided that he was going to challenge Jim Crow's laws in the city of Biloxi. What he decided to do was to bring his family to this beach for a day out in the sun. Now, what he didn't count on was running into opposition by the Biloxi PD. Dr. Gilbert R. Mason, his son, and his young wife, they showed up here, and the Biloxi PD officer happened to spot them out there. And the police asked, "What are you doing?" Dr. Mason didn't understand what he meant by that. He said, "Boy, you can't be out there on that beach." Dr. Mason was a big guy, and he was defiant. And he asked him, "What gives you the right to tell me that I can't be out here on this beach? I'm a tax-paying citizen. Tax-paying dollars built this beach." Well, that didn't sit too good with that police, so he made him and his family pack up and leave. But this would not be the last time that Dr. Mason would try his hand at enjoying the beach with his family. He came back another time. This time, he wasn't so fortunate to leave. He was arrested and hauled off to jail. It could have ended there, but it didn't. He talked to the congregation at his church and asked would they be willing to go out here with him. He asked them the second time he came out. They said they would, but nobody showed up. So the third time, it took some courageous young high school kids to tell Dr. Mason, "We stand with you." They showed up at his practice on Division Street, and they told him, "Dr. Mason, man, you can't give up. You have to go back out there." In his book, Beaches, Bloods, and Ballads, he said that right there was the catalyst that changed everything for him. Dr. Mason galvanized East Side Biloxi, a black community, and they showed up on April the 24th, 1960. The children were expecting a picnic along with their parents, but unbeknownst to them, word somehow had got back to the white community. So when they showed up here, they were met by opposition from an angry white mob who were hell-bent on preventing them from taking to this beach. But they didn't understand, nor did they realize, that the Biloxi Police Department was in cahoots with that angry white mob. In fact, the police gave the command to attack. The reason I bring this up is because I was fortunate enough to interview one of the participants of this bloody beach wade-in. I sat down with Clement Jimerson. At the time, he was a 14-year-old kid. Today, he is 79 years old, and he was willing to talk to me about the events that occurred on that Sunday, April the 24th, 1960. So, without further ado, let's get to the video.
Lord, prepare me.
Growing up in the east side Biloxi, my father raised me and my brothers and my sister, always telling us about a lot of black people was not able to go to the beach.
It's important that you know your history. And that's what happened in the past. We were relegated where they didn't want you to learn how to read. So that means you'll be ignorant and you'll just continue to repeat and do the same thing over and over again. Growing up in Biloxi prior to the Wade-Ins, we was confronted with the Jim Crow laws. And so my uncle Nolan McSwain Sr. and my stepfather Walter James Fleeton kind of prepped me and taught me what I needed to do in order to survive. What it meant to grow up in the Jim Crow era, it meant that if I was walking down the sidewalk and a white person was coming down the sidewalk, then I would have to get off. I couldn't even look in their eyesight. If I did that, they could take me and hang me up and do whatever they wanted to do. Dr. Mason himself decided to go down there on the beach by himself, where he invited some of his church members at First Baptist on the 17th of April. Okay. And he got up in church and all the people said they were going to be going down there on the beach with him. And then, so what happened is the 17th came around. At church service, he got up in church service and said, well, we're going to go and I'm going to meet on the beach at 2 o'clock. And all of them said they was coming down there and they're going to be there with him. And so at 2 o'clock, Dr. Mason out there on the beach right there by the lighthouse, and nobody else showed up. And police passed by and looks out there and see him out there, and he come and stop and he arrest him. We met with him and we encouraged him to organize and go back down there. Don't just give up. When they said we were going to be going down there to know about them protests, I had me a little job. And I went and bought me a brand new Elgin watch. My mind was just elated. I was on a high. I had waited all my life to go down there on that beach. Down there by the small craft harbors where the night graders was and the women that was out there. On the highway 90, Dr. Gilbert Mason was in his vehicle, his Buick, and he was patrolling between the three groups to see how everything was going. The city police and the state police was organizing this all-white male mob to come down to attack us, 19 years old and up. And we got with nothing but women and children and just a few men that was down there. And you had no weapons or nothing. Once they organized that mob, then they went and attacked the adult section down in front of the cemetery and beat them off. And people had blood all over them, and they had all kind of tie irons. They had brass knuckles, and we ain't had nothing. That night was terrifying. You could hear people yelling, screaming, and people they were coming through there shooting and still attacking folks. Bud was like, he was an old man, and he would just get out and he'd drink, but he didn't bother anybody, and he just walked the street and stuff. But the word is that evidently he must have been out there walking that night when they came through there attacking and getting folks. They actually grabbed him, supposedly have gone and taken him out to North Biloxi, and they slit his throat. And then they took him and propped him up down in front of Jeff Davis. And that's how they found Bud Strong. After the Bloody Sunday, that's when Biloxi got their own branch of the NAACP, and Dr. Gilbert Mason became the first president of that. Then the public access laws got passed.